I almost walked out the second I stepped into that room. The anger management meetings weren't like Double A. There were no circles of quiet confessions, no coffee cups shaking in trembling hands, no nervous laughter after someone admitted they messed up. No, this was a storm waiting to explode. The air was thick with tension, the kind that made your skin prickle. The men inside weren't just angry, they were volatile. I could see it in the way they sat, muscles wound tight, eyes darting around like they were waiting for someone to give them an excuse to fight. And I almost did. I made the mistake of looking at one of them for too long. Murray. A tower of muscle, tattoos crawling up his arms and neck, eyes sharp and mean like a wolf that had already decided you were prey. "The fuck you looking at?" he growled, standing so fast his chair scraped against the floor. I barely had time to react before Paul's voice cut through the room like a gunshot. "Murray, sit down." Murray clenched his fists, nostrils flaring, but he didn't move. Paul didn't raise his voice. Didn't threaten. He just repeated himself. "Sit." And like a trained beast, Murray did. I exhaled slowly. The others were watching me now. Judging. Weighing. Sullen. A lean, wiry man with a cocky smirk, like he was waiting for the right moment to twist a knife. Edwin. Older, calmer, but with scars on his knuckles that said he hadn't always been that way. Keith and Robert. The kind of guys who probably started fights just to see if they could win. And then there was Icon. I didn't know what it was about him, but something in my gut told me to stay the hell away. Maybe it was the way he moved, like a panther, like a shadow slipping through the cracks. Maybe it was the hair, that long, black waterfall down his back, too perfect for a guy who looked like he could tear you apart in seconds. Or maybe it was the way the others, even the worst of them, respected him. Paul was the only man in this room they all listened to. But Icon? He was the one they feared. Paul clapped his hands together. "All right, let's begin. Act. Don't react." Paul didn't talk like a therapist. He didn't tell us to share our feelings. Didn't ask about our childhood trauma. He gave us one rule. Before you do or say anything, think of the best and worst result. By the time you come to an answer, you'll be calmer. That was it. And I thought it was bullshit. Until I saw it work. The first week, there was yelling. A lot of yelling. Keith almost put Salen through a wall over some offhand comment. Robert flipped a table when Paul called him out for dodging questions. Murray stared daggers at me every time I opened my mouth. And Icon? Icon never yelled. He didn't have to. But the moment someone pissed him off, the temperature in the room changed. It was like watching a blade being drawn from its sheath. I should have been terrified. And at first, I was. But then something happened. As the weeks passed, something shifted. The conversations got deeper. The outbursts got fewer. We started talking, not just about anger, but about why it was there. And the worst part? Every story sounded too damn familiar. Edwin's temper cost him his marriage. Salen got locked up for beating a man half to death. Keith lost his job because he punched his boss. Robert's own kid was scared of him. And Icon? Icon sat in silence for weeks. Listening. Watching. Then, one night, he broke. It wasn't dramatic. No shouting. No fists through walls. Just a quiet confession. "I shouldn't have been such an asshole to you guys," he muttered, rubbing a hand over his face. I thought being a dick kept me safe. Kept me in control." Silence. Then Paul nodded. "It doesn't, does it?" Icon swallowed hard. Then, barely above a whisper, "No, it doesn't," and that's when I realized something. I had spent my whole life fighting. Fighting my father. Fighting my failures. Fighting my own goddamn reflection. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't fighting alone. We lost 3 men over the months. One went back to prison. One drank himself to death. One put a bullet in his own skull. And it should have broken us. But instead, it made us stronger. We didn't just show up to meetings anymore. We called each other when things got bad. We showed up when one of us was slipping. And Paul? He made sure we didn't forget what we learned. Act, don't react. It became a mantra. A way of life. And somewhere along the way, something else happened. We started giving back. It started small. Volunteering at shelters. Helping out at a community center. Then, before I knew it, I was spending my weekends working on outreach programs. Talking to kids who reminded me too much of myself. And I started listening. Really listening. Not just to them. Not just to the guys in the group. To Celia. To the people I had spent my whole life shutting out. And slowly, painfully, I changed. One night, after another long shift at the community center, I found myself standing outside my old AA meeting. Through the window, I saw her. Shania. She looked happy. At peace. And this time, I didn't feel the urge to go inside. I didn't need to prove anything to her. I didn't need to ask for forgiveness. I had already found what I was looking for. I turned away. And for the first time in a long, long time, I walked forward.